All right, good afternoon and greetings from South Georgia, USA. We have got a situation down here with our figs where we have had record breaking rains. And on some places of the property, the water where I have planted some of the fig trees has been standing for several days. It will not drain. And I have decided that in fact, I've already done it. Some of the recently planted figs, I'm pulling them out of the holes they're in and setting them back on the ground. It will disturb the roots some. And I'm going to put them back in pots and set them there where I had them planted until this water drains off. Now, this is an example here in LSU Gold that the water is not standing in this particular spot. But you can look right over there, and there is standing water. I don't quite understand the drainage situation here. However, I did dig down, and it looks to me like the water has drained down in this spot and is about 6 inches below the ground level. I'm not going to dig this tree up because I think that it's pretty good shape, but I am going to leave this hole and kind of let this hole right here serve as the roots have not spread out this far yet. Kind of let this hole serve as a way for me to see what's going on with this fig tree. So I'm going to put the wire back on it. I keep a wire. Whoa! You see how wet it is? Keep a wire. Now I will tell you something about this particular hole. I dug this hole with the excavator and I scooped all of the grass and the roots off of it. Here, these are right here, because I didn't want to plant it amongst the grass. So I scooped all of this off with the excavator, dug the hole, and several days later, I planted it. I don't know if that had something to do with it, why it drained well. I don't know. Maybe it loosened it up so it could drain. I'm going to leave this one like it is for now. And we're going to go over there and I'm going to show you some that I actually made the decision to pull them out of the ground. I've noticed, I've been watching them. They've been standing in water for at least 3 or 4 days, maybe 4 or 5 days. And I think I'm noticing them beginning to suffer a little bit from it. So we'll pause and go over there to this other tree. All right, so this is one of the places where I had planted a fig about a week ago. And what's happening here is this is the uphill slope up there. And water is draining out of the hill. You can see it coming out of the hill there. You can see it standing. And I pulled this one on out of the ground. That leaf is just nothing. And I put it in a pot. I took it back to the potting bench and I repotted it very carefully with some Pro Mix, and I didn't even mix any water with the Pro Mix. I put the soggy root structure in the pot and then put the Pro Mix around it. And I've got that sitting over there on the potting bench. And my reasoning on that was that the Pro Mix, as it comes out of the bag, is not very wet, and it would absorb some of that water from that root mass. Okay, I'll show you some other ones here in a minute. Okay, we haven't left this spot yet. Now, this might not be a good spot for a fig tree. Figs they like well-drained soil. Most of the time, this is well-drained. This is an unusual situation here where it has rained over and over and over again. I do not remember any time when it rained this much over and over and over again. If I'm going to keep an eye on this spot, see how long it takes it to drain. But if I do put a fig back here, I may have to put it on a berm. I may have to build the soil up, or you might say plant the fig tree somewhat above the ground, maybe halfway in and halfway out, and put the dirt up around it. Possibly. Okay, now we're going to move. Okay, here we are at the ones that are still in the pots. They aren't suffering because, see, this is Pro Mix is what I put most of them in, just pure Pro Mix and some Osmocote fertilizer. And even though we've had this humongous amount of rain, this is a well draining mix, this Pro Mix. So I don't see it bothering them too much. So I think they're fine in the pots. But at some point, they need to go in the ground. I can't keep them, I have a big place here. And so this gives me a good chance to look at the different places and make a judgment about which areas are going to not hold water particularly. And you can see that here's one over here where you can see in these little kiddie pools, which I had to water the figs with, but I haven't needed them yet. We've had 7, 8 inches of rain in the last few days. But look at that little slope down there. Now you see that gray chicken down there and that white one? They're at the hole that we just left, the one that's waterlogged. But up here, I don't think it is waterlogged that much. So I think the water is going under the ground somewhat and then draining out down to there. In fact, I'm going to make a test hole right here where you see that bare piece of ground. And I'm going to take a check of what that does look like at this point. That might give me some insight into where I need to plant the trees and where not. Okay, I'm up here on the flat spot above where that wet place is down there. Remember where the chickens were a minute ago? So I'm going to see what this looks like. And this is a way to do it here, an easy way to check what's going on with the drainage situation. And I don't see any water yet. And I don't see any sloppiness at all. This spot right here, I've gone down the whole length of these diggers. I'm down close to 12 inches and there's no water yet. So I'm saying that this is a well-drained spot. This is where I need to put trees, in a spot like this right here. So I will make a mental note of that. And when I get ready to plant some trees, I'll know that this is a good place, this kind of place here. And that place down there, if I'm going to use it, I'm in an ant bed. I am in an ant bed and they're biting me. Oh yeah, there. Okay, we're going to have to break because I've got to get my socks off and my shoes and stop these ants from eating me. Okay, now here's the ones that I pulled out of the ground. I planted these about a week ago, maybe a little more, and I can tell they're already beginning to suffer. All right, so the water comes down from this hill here, but somehow or another, I don't know how or why, but it's actually drier down there where we just came from on the other side of the greenhouse. So I've just pulled these out of the hole very carefully, and it was wet enough. They're still almost in their original. I need a bigger pot than that, which I'll get. Let's go to this one right here. Like I said, this is unusual. This is unusual rain. Now you can tell this one. I'm telling you, this one here is suffering from being too wet. Let's see if it'll go in here. There we go. I'm going to go in the greenhouse and get a bigger pot. I want it to slip in there. And I'm just going to put them in the pot and set them here on the ground and let them drain for a couple of days. All right, we're going to pause and get a couple of more pots. All right, now all these guys here are in pots. I haven't taken them out yet, and they're doing fine. Most of them are in Pro Mix, and some of them, there's a little pine bark mixed in with them. So it's a good thing that I didn't plant too many of these with this horrific rain coming. If I had planted 20 or 30 of them, I'd have been maybe lost some because of this rain, and also not knowing where to plant. I've been here 25 years, and I've never seen anything like this. So this is not an yearly occurrence to have this much rain. Okay, these are the biggest pots that I have any decent number of right here. Will it go in there? I think so. It came out. That's the best I can do right there. I can tell you one thing, it's better than what? It's better than being in that wet ground. And I'm just going to leave it sitting there and watch this ground and think about this. I may even try to research it a little bit. And now it's going to rain again maybe today. But this has got to be better than sitting in there. And I'll be watching this right here. Now I've got some other spots where I've got some trees, and I'm going to go check them. All right, now here's another one that I planted a week ago or so. And there's been no standing water in this area. This is actually an area where 3 very large oak trees were blown down during the storm. And there's some of the wood that's cut up from those these were huge oak trees. And we finally dug them up with the excavator and smoothed this area over. But I'm going to see. That's a root there. I can't get down very far for the... Here, I got through it there, through the roots. But I don't see any standing water in here. There's so many roots from the trees that were standing here, and I don't see any. I'm down half a hole digger blade length. There's a big root, and I don't see any. There's that bad root right there. Where did I put those glasses? I threw them down right there. But this gives me an idea why. Now I'm not happy that my new fig tree got rained on this much. But you can see I'm down close to 12 inches and there's no standing water. This is a good place here. I'll leave it, and I've actually got room to put 2 more down here. Maybe 3. And this used to be, like I said, some humongous oak trees standing here, and Hurricane Helene threw them completely to the ground and left gigantic stumps, which we finally dug up. In fact, I'm going to show you those stumps. So this was a well-wooded area here near the house. But I say all things work together for good, for those who love God and are called according to His purposes. I would have never cut these beautiful oak trees down. They were huge, straight, bold, beautiful. But the hurricane blew them down. So I would have never gotten the opportunity to plant these fig trees in here. So I'm going to replace what was in here with something productive. Those oak trees didn't do anything but look pretty. So I'm going to break her, and I'm going to go show you the stump that came from somewhere close to where we are right now. All right, I wanted to show you the trees that came from that area where we just planted the fig tree. That's very nice, well-drained area that's going to be good for the fig trees. There's one of the logs of it right there. And here's one of the stumps, and there's another one back there. Just to show you, I wasn't exaggerating. That was a big old tree. And we were able to get that out of the ground with our excavator. We called the Mini X-Man over here, and he got it out. And it was a long project to dig it up and get it over here, but we got it done. Thunder. Let me show you a tree over here that's a little unusual in these parts. That tree right there. I don't know how many years ago I planted it, but that is a pawpaw tree. Pawpaws are not hardly ever found down in this neck of the woods. It's a little far south for them, I think. But this is one of has the largest fruit of any fruit tree in North America. And I bought this one from Stark Brothers. It's not a grafted variety. It's one that was grown from seed, probably. And I think it's got pawpaws on it. We're going to walk over there in a minute and see. But it's supposed to be planted under shade, which I did when it was a seedling, but there's not near as much shade in here now because a lot of the trees got knocked down, but it's big enough now. So let's pause and we'll walk over there and see if we can find the pawpaws and show you what they look like. Okay, here is a pawpaw, and it's probably not going to make fruit. It looks to me like it's a little shriveled, and it's never made a pawpaw, but it's like a lot of fruit trees. They have to get some age on them. My guess is that in a few years, this thing here will make really good fruit. But we'll watch that, but it's supposed to be about that big, about as big as a mango. All right, we're going to go on to some more of those figs and check them for the water situation. Okay, here's another one that we planted in another spot here between rows of persimmon trees. And there's no standing water at this end of this little garden area, but we're going to see what it looks like down here. Okay. This is acceptable. We went down to the clay. There's a little bit of water seeping in now. Just a little. I'm thinking it's acceptable. I'm thinking that this tree is a little bit stressed by the rain day after day, but I believe it would do more harm than good to try to take that tree up right now. So we're just thinking maybe that God's through for a few days and all, and we may get into an extended drought at some point. Now here's another one, and I believe the leaves are showing a little bit of, you see there, they're kind of folding up a little. I believe this tree is suffering a little bit from the water. It's not standing water, but it is definitely wet soil. It's the same thing as the one over there. I'm almost to the clay, and it is not any standing water down there. And there is, I'm in the clay now. Show that. And you can see that water is draining at that level. So the water has drained down to the clay level, which is, the tree is definitely not planted any deeper than that. So I'm not going to mess with these guys here. I'm happy with this. So I would feel like that I can use this spot here to plant more fig trees. It's not absolutely ideal. Got a good bit of shade from all those big persimmons over there. And we've got a little shade from these pine trees and these guys. But all in all, you can't have everything. You've got a halfway decent, well-drained area. You've got pretty good sun, probably 70% sun. But I think it's odd. Now, I'm down here below. I'm lower. Now, going up the hill, look at the water over there. Let's walk over here and show them. Okay, so I'm going actually up the hill here. And 50 feet up the hill, there is standing water right here. However, that might be because this is a low spot that collected a lot of water. This is where we cleaned up the other day from the old fence row that was torn down. There's
1, 2,
yeah,
3,
yeah.
4.
Those are. I think this is. In fact, I'm going to dig here. There's all the stuff that we cleaned up. The old fence row. We had to take out a whole row of grapes, and we left 1/2 a row of grapes right here. And Debbie's going to show you the grapes coming on it while I get my hole digger and I go look around out there a little bit. All right, we're up the hill from where that one is, about 100 feet up the hill from the one that we just left, the one that we're not going to mess with. I'm digging here, and you would normally think that up the hill would be drier. The water is not standing in here. And we'll come back by this hole, and it probably will accumulate in this hole. I'm down to the clay there. Now you can see under my feet,